Hello, my name is Joseph Bramante, CEO and co-founder of Triarch Real Estate Partners. Today we'll be going over the Candlelight investment portfolio, a three-property portfolio in the Garden Oaks submarket of Houston, Texas. Disclaimer, this is a registered 506C offering. Please consult with an attorney as needed. We'll be skipping through this table of contents rather quickly. But high level, we're looking at three properties totaling 220 units built in the early 1970s, ranging from 71 to 73. And uh, the value add component of it is roughly $37,000 per door and will result in an increase in the rent of $460. The basic premise of the renovation is there's a neighboring property called Dominion, which we will get to here in a moment. It went through a renovation, very large renovation, exactly like we're doing 2 years ago. They increased their rents from $550 to $1,400, thus proving the concept and the viability of this project. They are now at 95% occupied. They're about a couple hundred feet from Candlelight Gardens. And our general scope of work is to copy that renovation as closely as possible and then charge rents. Actually, our rents are about $50 to $100 below what their rents are as a conservative base case. Some of the highlights for this investment, we're looking at a 4-year disposition date. So it means we're going to buy it, renovate it in the first 2 years, stabilize it in year two, three, and then look to sell it in year four. That's our base case going in. That doesn't mean that we're not also going to entertain a refinance option. It just depends on what the debt markets are looking like at the time. Limited partners will receive an 8% preferred return from day one. And then after all of your pref and capital has been returned, you will receive a 70% split with 30% going to the general partners. Several local and national developers are building residential and retail and commercial projects within the area. Notably is Revive Co. They've been developing uh, a lot of product, a lot of retail, 2 blocks south of there. We're going to flip to their website here in just a moment, just so you can get an idea of the kind of product that they do. We currently own about 500 units in the area, uh, which gives us significant operational efficiency, allowing us to spread overhead across all the properties, decreasing your payroll costs. We also have been in the Garden Oaks market since 2016 and have performed exceptionally well, have seen rents climb. We have one particular property, we've increased rent almost $300 over a 3-year period. And that property is 98% occupied. We purchased another one just a mile and a half north of there, a mile and a half north of this particular target property. In February of this year, we're at mid 90s on the occupancy as well. So this general pocket has been extremely well for us. Also, we are acquiring this portfolio for about 26 million or 26 million all in. So that means our purchase price is about 16.5 million. We're spending another $8 million on renovation. That's how you get to the 26. So on a price per door number, we're buying it for 75 a door. We're renovating it for 37 a door. So we're going to be all in for around 110,000 a door. And then we're going to exit the property in year four for about 160 a door. 160 might seem high initially. However, the neighboring property, Dominion, is on the market. We're going to buy it. We negotiate a price of 162 a door, but then decided to hold off and wait until we close Candlelight first. There are also several other comps in the area that are in that the high hundreds range. In the top right, you're going to see an IRR sensitivity chart. And so the basic way to read this is on the left side, you can see in the data there that's been entered, for example, pro forma rent on the left, you see in the axis 1178, that's our base case. But then on the chart itself, you'll see 1078. That's our low side case. And then on the right side, you're going to see 1278. That's our high side case. So basically, it's $100 plus or minus as our high side and low side case. And you can see what happens with the IRR along the very bottom of the x-axis. So on our low side scenario, if we're $100 below on the rents, which by the way are already $50 to $100 below what Dominion's getting, we're going to be looking at about 17.5, 18% IRR. On the high side, if we are $100 above, or basically if we're matching Dominion's rents, we're going to be in the 30 to 31% range on the IRR. In regards to the cap rate, which plays a big part in your exit sale price, our base case is a 6%, and we did a low side of 6.5 and a high side of 5.5. And you can see there that that the range is actually a lot less smaller on the cap rate than you might imagine. Same with the average vacancy, with a big project like this where you're going to be going in, renovating all the units and turning all the residents, meaning that none of the residents there are going to be most likely staying since the new rents will be probably outside of their range. But on projects like this, you might expect a higher vacancy. So we went in and we bumped up our vacancy, our average vacancy across all 4 years to about 12% on the low side. And then our best case about 6%. You can see the effects there. And then so on and so forth going down. You can see the effects of these high side and low side numbers. The rehab is actually the dead last one. $500,000 higher or lower has very little impact on our IRR for this deal. In regards to the metrics here on the top right, you can see some of our other factors there. I'll just hold 1 second. Sorry, I had to fix the screen. Okay, so let's continue. Actually, let me show you now this is what I was referring to by Revive Co. initially when you looked at some of their products. So they'll go in, here's one of their success stories where they went into this property, which is actually just around the corner. It's at Yale and 11th, not too far away from where we are actually. It's in the heart of the Heights submarket. They took this really old abandoned building, or not abandoned, but they took this really old retail building and then renovated it to this finished product. And that's what they've been doing all throughout Garden Oaks, going into these properties and giving new life into old retail strip centers, which attracts millennials and young professionals to come in and hang out, which then causes them to want to live in those same areas. So a little bit about us. As I mentioned, my name is Joseph Bramante, engineer by trade. Spent the first 5 years of my career working for Exxon overseas, managed about $1 billion in costs. Received some performance awards while I was there. Then spent, then spent the next 8 years in multifamily, self-taught initially, then formally trained by the CCM Institute. I've done 6 major renovations thus far. We've got a new development as well underway. Um, the range for our renovations is between $8,000 and $30,000 per unit. And on average, we've been increasing the property value for about $298,000. Sorry, 298%. Sorry. Carrie Brenneman, she's president, co-founder, 30-year veteran in multifamily, starting off as a leasing agent, working her way up to working as the regional vice president for GFI, oversaw about 31 communities and 10,000 units. She's received some accolades as well, and also successfully managed portfolios up to 17,000 units. Her product type tend to be mostly on the B and C side, but they also did a lot of new construction and lease up. And then our other partner, Deborah Newsom, 25-year veteran of the industry, also starting off as a leasing agent, worked for the Lane Company and Lincoln Company. And she's focused more on the Class A side, doing mostly new construction and lease ups. As we mentioned, some of the target highlights for this deal, 4-year disposition, look at 24.6% IRR. We talked about the national and local developers. We talked about our existing portfolio in the area and the level of renovation. We're going to go over a detailed spread of what that renovation includes. Um, and then here's a big one here, though. So in regards to the renovation, even though we do have a good bit of experience doing this in the past, we're actually bringing in third parties for the bulk of it, as far as the design, the creative direction, and the branding. The companies that we're bringing in for this are the same companies that Nightvest, which is a company with over $1.5 billion of assets under management and 16,000 units, and S2 Capital, a $2.1 billion assets under management company with 22,000 units. We're using the same exact vendors that they're using, same team. And then in regards to the day-to-day management of the construction, we're going to have Gary Bethel, 12-year veteran, specifically to multifamily construction. He worked for a Conti organization up in Dallas, and also with the Ling Company. Does about 1,200 units per year, ranging from $12,000 to $46,000 per unit on the renovation. He's going to be living on site 24/7 for the 2-year duration of the renovation. Here's some highlights of the Garden Oaks area for those of you who are not familiar with the Houston market. Basically, I'm going to start off on the right side. You have Houston Heights, which has been for many years the uh, very kind of prominent area to be for the millennials and young urban professionals. However, as with all hot markets, they eventually get overpriced. And then you've got Garden Oaks it's on the northern boundary of Houston Heights, and has been the benefactor of receiving a lot of the overflow from Houston, so from the Heights. So as that market has gotten overpriced, you see a lot of the residents and renters moving northward into Garden Oaks for more affordable housing. Here's an aerial of some of the dining, cafes, and nightlife we have available in the Garden Oaks area, as well as in the top right, or sorry, the kind of middle. You can see the 3 properties that we're looking at. So Candlelight Gardens, Estates, and Manor. It's great because these 3 properties are all located on Pinemont Street. We're within a couple hundred feet of each other, and will be operated as a single property, which we'll talk about here more later. And as you can see from this aerial, much better representation of how close they truly are. And on the right side, you can see Dominion, which has been our example to replicate. And so Dominion, as I mentioned, it went through a renovation about 2 to 3 years ago. It's currently 94%. It just reached 94% occupied, performing extremely well. And their rents went from 550 to over 1,400. And in regards to the Houston in general, so we're sitting looking southward. We're at Pinemont and Shepherd. Shepherd is a kind of a main thoroughfare in Houston. Then south east, you've got our downtown, and directly south, you've got our medical center. You got Greenway, and then you've got Galleria uptown in the southwest of that. So lots and lots of jobs in the immediate area. Demographics, you're looking at about almost 50,000 a year in median household income, net worth around $61,000, and mostly young kind of urban professionals. We talked about so I showed you earlier the website for Revive Co. There's another big development they're doing, which is right here in this green box. It's about 8 acres. It's currently it's not abandoned, but it's a dying strip center that they're about to go into in the spring of next year and revitalize and bring all of their experience and development into this project to turn that. And when they then turn that, it's ultimately going to have a positive impact for all the properties on our Pinemont, 3 of which we will own. Here's some additional kind of market intel we provided. So there's a new development, West 34th in Alba. It's about $22,000 Class A retail and strip center. It's about a mile away. They're also tearing down a church in the immediate area. It's 17,000 square feet of Class A retail development. You've got David Weekley building a lot of the houses in the area. I want to show you a drone highlight video here in a moment, which will really, you'll see a lot of those single family housing developments. Hines is, here's a link right here where Hines is building a 382 unit Class A luxury multifamily development. It's a mile and a half south of this project. Hines does really high end stuff, and for them to believe in that market definitely speaks volumes. And then below that, we've given you some examples of the other Hines properties and the architect, just so you can kind of get an idea of the design and styling of the properties they build. Here you can see a map of the nearby properties that we have. So you've got the four here. We just continue to highlight Dominion. Dominion is uh, on our purchase radar, but for the moment we're looking at Candlelight, the three Candlelight properties only. About a mile and a half north, we have our other two properties. This is 480 West Parker, and this one, the very top, is The Edge. We purchased this one in 2016, and this one we purchased just in February of this year. Both are in the high 90s on occupancy, performing extremely well. This is the one here that has had their rent increased by almost $262 since purchase. Here's Dominion. You've got a lot of the highlights here, but I think the best thing is, let me go ahead and show you their website, because they've got a ton of photos on their website, which is to really give you an idea of what the property is all about. So you can see here let me try and find you a better photo of the exterior. Here's a good one. Oops. So you can see the exterior. Actually, this building, before they started the renovation, looked nearly identical to uh, our properties. And all they've done is they've painted the brick. They've come in with all new windows, which we're doing. Um, I think the only difference is there's two differences between the level of renovation that was done at Dominion and the level of renovation that we're going to be doing at Candlelight. One is the electrical. They replaced all the electrical. We're not replacing the electrical. It doesn't expire. There's no need to replace it. And two is oh darn, I forgot the other thing they did. Oh, the styling. Two is the styling. So they've gone with a more on the interior, more of a kind of a classical Class A renovation. This is going to be your standard tan, two-tone design, whereas we're going for a more modern, hip, chic style. So the difference would be styling. What else do we have? Let me show you some of their interiors. I mean, their pool is absolutely amazing. They've built in these patio areas here that they charge for, which we'll talk about, which we also have included. Um, Nice barbecue area. Those are very expensive. Nice gym. Let me get to some more of the interiors. So just as you can see, a ton of photos on their website. So everything you see here, these are all, so basically they gutted this property, took it down to the studs, came back with all custom prefab cabinets, granite counters, backsplash, all new windows, all new appliances, the works. We're doing exactly all of that. So everything you see here, we're doing, recessed lighting and all. Same flooring. This is an upstairs unit, I believe. No, this is the downstairs. So kind of hard to tell from the photo, but this is actually ceramic wood tile. It's not vinyl plank wood tile. On the first floors, they have ceramic tile, which we're also including. On the second floor, they have vinyl plank tile, which we'll be including as well. And that's done mostly for noise. Anyway, you guys can check out their website. It is dominionsquareapartments.com/gallery if you want to check out more photos. But as you can see, same vintage, 136 units, 94% occupied. They've got bigger units. That's going to be the biggest difference, especially if you start looking at the price per square foot and why theirs is lower than ours. We're much smaller units. Our average square footage in the 600s. So they've got about 300 square feet more than us on average per unit. And here you can see in our unit mix. So they're 42% one and 60% twos. And the next few slides, let me go ahead and pull up the photo gallery so you can see just the next three properties. We'll do it this way. So here's Candlelight Estates. Actually, let me do this for you instead. Let me go ahead and pull up the highlight video. So this is Candlelight Estates. I want you to note all of the housing in the immediate area. Um, this is the one that's located kind of in the middle of the three. That lot that you just saw kind of off to the right has been fully developed. We're going to be going in all the exterior hardings, all the exterior hardies getting replaced on this property, all new roofs, all new ACs. These courtyards are getting completely redone. There's one of the residents there. Um, as you can see, we have wood balconies, which is great, makes it really easy and cheap for repairs. This room is actually a recreational center. This property used to be for old folks, and so this was the cafeteria. Our plan is to go in at the very end and convert that into 2 units and rent those out. Here's Candlelight Gardens. This is the one that's closest to Dominion. Has the mansard roofs. We're going to be going in and physically removing those roofs down to the studs and coming back with hardy blank. Off to the right here, if you look, you can see new housing development going up. These houses start off around 450 and up from there. In the front, you've got a retail strip center, and then the actual property is well, you can see the property. So you don't have that direct, immediate curbside appeal like the other two do. The roof is getting absolutely replaced on this one, all new ACs, all new windows. We're coming back doing a lot of landscaping, a lot of balcony repairs on this property. This is Candlelight Manor. It's the one furthest to the east. As this lot that you see right to the left of it now has foundations poured and patio homes going up on that. Those homes started about 400,000. To right behind it, you see the baseball field. That's St. Pius Catholic High School, private school. Tuition is about 20,000 a year per student. This is the only property that has a pool. As you can see, it needs some maintenance. We're actually going to be going in and widening the pool, giving you a nice 10-foot tanning shelf. This is a picture of a view of the office. We're going to be going in and updating that completely. And then here's an example. Here's Dominion, and you can see just a huge night and day difference what that looks like. All new roofs, as you can see on that property, just absolutely gorgeous. Great street and curb appeal as well. You can see the impact that these new windows have. So they went and they put the same new vinyl windows that we're installing. Has a big improvement. Their pool is reportedly costing several $100,000. So they're definitely very proud of their pool. Nice walk-in tanning shelf as well. So we'll continue. So let me pull up those photos again for you, just to kind of give you a better view. So we can see some stills. So from the curb, from the street, you've only got this is Candlelight Estates. Our plan is to go in and completely remove all of what you see here, all the bars and whatever these accent pieces are, and paint this entire facade and really make it pop so that as you're driving by, you really see it. Here's a picture of one of the laundry rooms that we'll be going in, and since we're adding washer and dryer to every unit, the laundry room will no longer be needed. We're going to convert that into a maintenance shop. Here, as you can see, we have tons and tons of covered parking. We're actually going to be removing all of the parking you see along the driveway, which is on the left side there, thus creating some, by decreasing some of the supply and uh, making it increasing the demand. Here's an example of one of the courtyards that we'll be going in and completely renovating. As you can see, all of the first floor doors will have their own little private wood balcony um, coming out about 10 feet from the building. That's two things. One, allows us to charge for a balcony, and two, it decreases the amount of area that we have to landscape within the courtyard. Here's a picture of their office that we showed you before. We're actually going to go in and completely redo this so that it's a lot more welcoming, very dated as is. Here's some pictures from Candlelight Gardens. This actually in front of you used to be an old pool a long time ago. Now it's just a landscaped bed. We're going to renovate that and make that, just scrape that so that it's flat with the rest of the concrete and come in and add some creative accents here. All of the mansard and everything you see will be, as I mentioned, will be getting taken back down to the studs, so completely removed, and then hardy will be going up. So you won't even be able to tell that it used to have that roof. This is their existing kind of barbecue area, so that'll be getting spruced up quite nicely with some built-in barbecue stations. Here you can see a lot of their uh, balconies need a bit of love, so we'll go in and fix those as needed and get everything up to code and working properly. Here's the curb appeal you have. So this is really on a side street. It's not on Pinemont like the other two. There's your entrance. This is a picture from Candlelight Manor. It's the large recreation room that I talked about that used to be they used to be a senior living facility where they would feed the residents there. So now it just sits vacant. It's not used for anything. It's kind of a pseudo maintenance shop, as you can see on the right. So we'll go in and we're gonna, at the very end of the project, we're gonna convert this into two-bedroom units. It's gonna cost quite a bit, so we're gonna wait till the very end to do that. Here's an example of the pool. So we're going to widen the pool, basically pushing it out 10 feet on the right side and about 12 inches deep, giving you a nice tanning shelf. It doesn't cost that much. And then also we're going to be adding a nice arbor and outdoor grilling station to really make this a focal point. Here's the other courtyard. That's just going to be landscaped really well. You can see we're going to be adding the patios to all the, just remember we're adding the patios to all the first floor units that face inward toward the garden. In the back here, you can see those three big windows. That's the recreation room I was telling you about that we saw earlier. Here's some interior photos. So all the units look basically the same. You have the ceramic, your typical kind of ceramic tile, 12 by 12 tile with white walls and white baseboards, or I guess off-white walls. Everything's been resurfaced several times. You've got your typical white appliances, so very just basic, clean units, nothing terrible. Uh, Here's a picture of their bathroom. Let me see if I can show you. I don't have any photos of where. Oh, so in this photo, kind of the middle door, right below the air intake vent, that's where the washer and dryer connection will go in this particular floor plan. So let's move on. So the value add operational improvements we're going to make, there's currently no RUBS. RUBS is the ratio utility billing where you bill back for water, gas, and trash. They aren't doing any of that, so that'll be the first thing that we do. It's a very easy add. We'll go in and we'll start billing back for that. It'll take about a year for all the leases to renew and have that addendum added to them. We're also going to be implementing valet trash as well with the renewals. Um, and I mentioned the cover parking, so they're not charging for cover parking, likely because every spot is covered, so there's no shortage of supply. We've underwritten to about $50 charge at 90% of the spots. We're so on 134 covered parking spots. There's currently about 201. We're going to be removing 65 of those to increase the demand, and also it's going to improve the appearance because there's just a lot of, all that covered parking really gives you a closed-in feeling. So we want to open it up and make it feel more welcoming. So in order to do that, we're going to remove those spots. We'll be slowly replacing the Candlelight staff kind of throughout the renovation process with our own staff. They're sufficiently qualified to run operations as is, but as we convert it to the new higher end renovation, we'll need to have the appropriate staff. We're going to be implementing our smart apartment package, which basically consists of a smart thermostat, locks, light switches, and a Google Home. We've done this at our other properties and gotten a $30 premium for it. The residents love it. And we're going to be increasing the lease income just through better management of application and late fees. And we're going to be improving the marketing both online and through outreach. We're using a local branding company and marketing company. Plus, we've got decades of experience with kind of outreach marketing. And we've been in this market, as I mentioned, for 3 years already. So we really know what spots to hit for that outreach marketing to have the biggest bang. Here's the breakdown of the CapEx improvements that we're going to make to really drive that revenue up. And just keep in mind that all of these quotes have been, all of the estimates here are per our GC quoted bid. Some of these are actually higher than the GC quoted bid. In addition to that, we've got 12% contingency, which is about just over $800,000 in contingency. I'm not going to go over it in too much detail, but as I mentioned before, basically the we're taking it down to the studs. The simplest way to understand it is we're replacing everything but the electrical. I mean, all new roofs, all new ACs, all new windows, all new sewer lines, plumbing, all the courtyards and pools are getting redone, all the offices are getting redone, all the kitchens are getting gutted and come back with all new cabinets. So there's really going to be very little, even all the drywall, if it's not getting removed, it's getting completely retextured so that it'll look new. We're going to spend the first 3 months, though, developing 6 units just to make sure we got everything right, make sure there's no surprises, etc. And also just to get the team really kind of really locked in on what they need to do. And then once that's done, we start on January 1, the full project. Also, at the very bottom here, we talk about some of our, so we've got $1 million of optional scope. So say if we bust the contingency for whatever, we've got $1 million in scope that we can pull back on that gives us effectively another $1 million in contingency. These are all items that are maybe not necessarily needed, that don't, but we feel in order to be competitive with Dominion, we need to do them. So I mentioned we're using really premier designers, branding companies, and landscapers. Here's three mood options that they've provided for the property. We're going with, I believe the term they said was a Palm Springs kind of hotel chic. Anyway, I'm an engineer. I don't do creative stuff, so we leave that to the professionals. Here's our execution plan. So we talked about this taking 2 years to complete. We talked about Gary Bethel. We talked about the 3-month staging process. We're going to be bulk buying all of our materials up front and then storing them in the warehouse. This will allow us for significant savings, which has already been baked into the estimate. We're going to start the exteriors first, including roofs, ACs, and paint, because you really, particularly the roofs, they're in very bad condition. And the worst thing to happen is if the roofs were to go out on you, or to leak after you just renovated the interiors and you got to redo the interiors. It's, nobody likes to redo work. One of the common challenges with the properties with big renovations like this is that you get what's called kind of runaway vacancy, where um, where residents see the renovation that's going on, they see residents moving out, and they get spooked, and so they try to leave early. So we're going to be putting one of the advantages we have on this property is that it's three separate properties. And so we're going to be starting on one, and then at 3 to 6 months later, after that one's gotten started and really under control, then we'll start the next one. Can do start that one for 3 to 6 months, then finish up the other one, and then we'll start the last one. So the last one's going to start basically a year after the other two have started and finished. So this will really help us to control the vacancy as best as possible. Nothing is for certain, especially when dealing with the human element. You really don't know what can happen. We're also going to have locators on site to help with the move out and move in process of new and old residents. And we're also going to be putting initiatives on the leases to help encourage them to stay and fulfill the term of their lease, like 100% deposit return guarantee, stuff like that. Here's our expenditure profile per unit. As you can see, by December 1, we will have completed the 6 test units like we talked about. And then we start in January 1, and then the renovated units don't start coming back until April. Whoops, sorry. Um, Here you can see we start all of the exterior work first and have that mostly done by end of next year. And then we're still finishing up interior units all the way through December of 2021. The blue here represents our deferred contingency and the Triarch fee. So we're pushing all of that to the very back end to help make sure the project's a huge success. We also, one of the benefits is that our lender matched this exact expenditure profile with their forced draw as part of our loan negotiations. So why that's good is because often in other loans, they'll force draw the money to you faster than you can spend it, which you're now paying interest on money that you can't spend. And it just costs you additional overhead and carry. So this way, we've gotten a much longer forced draw profile and spend. We're probably going to spend it faster than this. Now we can spend faster, and that's great, and we can do this faster. But if we go this pace, as long as we don't go too much slower than this pace, then we'll have no issues with the loan. Here's our rent comps. So I've got Candlelight and Dominion. We've got Candlelight and Dominion listed here. And what you should do is you kind of go through here and you compare. For example, Candlelight has Alba B, which is Candlelight Gardens B profile, 625 square feet. Is going for 1119, so 1,119. You compare that to this one here to 661, and it's going for 1,199. So again, it's over $50 higher for Dominion. So we're undercutting that property. So that's how we set our rents. We went basically as close as we could per square foot, looked at the rent Dominion, came back over, decreased ours by $50 to $100 and set that as our rent for Candlelight. Now the end product, because of the unit mix that we have being mostly one bedrooms, is that our price per square foot is higher. So don't get stuck on that. It's just a product of us having mostly one bedrooms that are smaller. Here as well, you can see other comps in the area. All of them are performing really well in the 150 to 167 range, and we're at $1.09 right now. We did a submarket vacancy analysis. Basically, just says that the market is strong, that it's going to take us 0 months to get to the stabilized occupancy. Here's the project financials. So in the first year, the quickest way to read this, you go down to the bottom, you got your annual return. These are net all of fees. So this is truly your return. And it is 0% for the first year. Then we're looking at about 8% for year 2, then 12 for year 3, and then 211 basically for year 4. Now keep in mind you've got an 8% preferred return. So even though you didn't earn anything in year 1, that 8% accrues over into year 2, and then you can see you only get about 8. So that 8 that you're short accrues over to year 3, and it just keeps accruing forward. And so at the very end of the project, we first pay back any accrued preferred returns, and then your capital, and then it's a 70-30 split. Here's some charts for you to look through. This one should look familiar for you. You can see we're increasing the NOI quite a lot, almost $2,000. Um, so it's pretty big increases here. Sorry, yeah. Here's our sources and uses. Initial funding 10.8, renovation reserve 8.135. We've also got an interest reserve of $400,000, which means that if we're having negative cash flow issues, we've got $400,000 to pay for the debt service. We've also got in here another, if I can find it, $100,000 in our reserve balance. That's just cash on hand that we're keeping. So really, you're looking at $500,000. In addition, we're getting pre-funded $350,000 at closing for our construction advance that we can use for renovation. We can also use for any shortages that we have. Here's some of the underwriting assumptions that we talk about. So at sale, we've already grossed the purchase price up to 80% for estimating the sale amount. Typically, that's a big one as far as, you know, when you're doing the NOI, a lot of times people don't want to gross up the tax value to 80% of the purchase price. Well, we did that to be as accurate as possible. Selling in 4 years at a 6% cap rate. Talked about the cover parking, smart units, marketing, admin, payroll. This should be 3 properties, not 4. Taxes, talk about growing our taxes, talk about the rubs. So I think we've covered everything here. The last one is bulk cable agreement. So you might notice some miscellaneous other expense that it actually goes down in year 3 because there's a bulk cable agreement that they're paying 24,000 a year for that we're canceling at the end of the year, the end of our second year. Here's our fee structure. So there's a 4% property management fee, a 2% asset management fee, a 2% acquisition fee, 1% debt placement fee, 5% construction management fee, and a 30% promote over an 8% preferred return. For the debt, we have a floating rate non-recourse loan. It's a 330 spread over LIBOR. It's a 5-year term, so we're exiting in 4. We've got a whole extra year built into the loan if we need it. 3 years of interest only, 30-year amortizing loan thereafter. Size is 75% of purchase price and cost. So total rehab holdback is 8.1 million, and none of it is tested during renovation. So when we say tested, that means that they're not going to test our NOI and debt coverage. They're just going to issue us the money, which is great because if you get into a situation where you're having cash flow issues, it only makes it worse as if the lender doesn't give you the money you need to finish the renovation so that you can get people into units so you can fix your cash flow. Um, any unspent money. So if we don't spend the money, the rest of it is used to go to pay down the loan upon completion. And then, as we mentioned, we have 400,000 in interest reserve, not $400, 400,000 in interest reserve. Our exit strategy, so exit at sell in year 4, 6% cap rate, about 35 million or 159,000 a unit. We also own 250 units north of there. We got another, so we'll be looking at total about 500 units for all 5 properties. 65 million total. So the other 2 properties that we own are also selling along the same timeline. So we'll be going to market with all 5 properties. $65 million would be very attractive for institutional investors. And that is the end of the presentation. Let me go quickly over some of the appendix items uh, just to show you that we've done this before. So here's 2 examples of properties that we've done. This was my first one actually, North Stream Manor Apartments. And you can see here everything I had. We actually did an asbestos abatement on that property, so that was not fun, especially for my first one. We had to add air conditioning units because they didn't have it. They had window units. Anyway, we could talk to you for days on this one, but anyway, just really just want to focus on the before and after. This was a 30,000 per unit renovation. We took the rents from $500 to over $1,100 and did everything you see here on the left side. So this is not our first rodeo, is the point we're trying to get across here. Here you can see some pretty phenomenal numbers. And then here is the second property I ever purchased. Similar vintage, 65, 61 units. and we did a slightly smaller renovation. It's about 22,000 per unit on the renovation, which I don't think I stated, but it is. It's 22,000 per unit, and we did everything. The only thing we didn't do is we did not add granite counters to that property, and that was the primary big thing there. And the downside on this one is that we were refinancing during the oil downturn that really stung us on this one. So otherwise, it would have been a great property. But it's located, as you can see in this photo, on the light rail. So that's a unique acquisition, very different game plan. It's a much longer whole property. It's going to get scraped and redeveloped, and we'll probably never sell that one. Here's our track record for value add properties within the first 36 months of operation. So all four of these properties, this is the numbers from closing till 36 months later. And you can see we've on average increased the value almost 200%, increased the NOI 113, and return to investors on average has been about 146%. Yeah, notably we got some big winners there, and really just that one property that was refinanced during the downturn that really stung us, but otherwise had performed very strongly in the past. And then here's just some before and afters. So I'll let you flip through this. This is the before and afters that our vendors have used, the same ones that are doing the renovation for us, that are designing their and the color schemes and branding, etc. for Candlelight. And here's just some of the specs on the property. And here's our pro forma rent roll. So if you're probably wondering what this was, this is how we determined the cash flow for the first 2 years of the investment. We went in through the rent roll, looked at when all the leases were expiring by unit. There's the units on the left side there. And we then um, determined uh, when each unit would expire versus renew, when it renews at. We factored in each unit being down for 3 months. So this was as close as we could get uh, to an estimate of what your true loss to lease, vacancy, etc. would be, without just guessing that it's going to be roughly this percent and roughly that percent based on experience. So this is an actual calculated pro forma rent roll by expiration dates per the existing uh, rent roll. Here, as we talked about, so this is the 3 units that don't exist yet. The other unit is the office. We're converting a part of the office into a unit. There's a small maintenance shop on the office at Candlelight Estates that when we convert the laundry room into a maintenance shop, we'll take the old maintenance shop, convert it into a small efficiency unit. And we're doing all 3 of those units at the very end. So that's why we're showing them as staying basically vacant, zero income until the very end. Here's some market study stuff. Talked about recession. It's been a real big hot topic in the market these days, in the news these days. And ultimately, I just want to point out to the very bottom is that basically, while we do have the conditions, what we're missing is a catalyst that cause a recession at this time. So the conditions are there for a recession, and it just feels weird because we've been in expansion for so long, but there's no catalyst to cause us to go into a concession at this time. Um, Talk about the yield curve. That's been in the news. It recently inverted, and here we talk about does it really matter? And because in the past it has been a good predictor for recessions, if past inversions that signal recession have been large and lasted months. What we've seen has not lasted months. Has been mostly a knee-jerk reaction from the trade war that's going on, and it's only lasted really a few days and then quickly disappears. And then here you can see the probability of recession falls to near zero. This is per the Fed. This isn't just lip service here. This is you know from what the experts are saying. However, they are saying that caveat that the transition from expansion to recession can quickly come. However, usually it takes only 2 to 4 quarters to move from strong expansion to recession. So, but as of now, everything is in the clear. Here we talk about the Houston job forecast, and really what I wanted to point out is that even on the low side, we're looking at adding, we're going from 3.1 million to almost 3.5 to 3.4 million jobs. So adding 300 to 400 thousand jobs, which when you factor that over 4 years, also note this date here. This is the date that we're exiting this investment. So they're adding about 50,000 jobs a year. They're not building enough apartments to keep up with that, which is what we talk about here. Basically, permitting over the last 6 months has jumped to 25,000 per unit, but previously we'd only built about 12,000 units, which is what that first bullet says. And so ultimately, we don't have enough units if we're adding 50,000 jobs per year, and you assume 50% of those jobs are going to rent, then you need 25,000 units per year, and we're barely keeping up with that as is. And this is just the backup data for that vacancy analysis I performed for you. So we do look at some true market stats and community profiles and census data to determine who's migrating in, who's migrating out, and how long it'll take for us to reach certain occupancies across the market. This concludes the presentation. If you have any additional questions or are interested in investing and want to learn more, I encourage you, please go to our website, triarchrep.com. You can sign up to become a member and join our mailing list. And then once you sign up, you'll then have access to all of our available offerings. You'll then see the Candlelight offering up in the top right there. Once you log in, you'll be able to see the Candlelight offering and see additional information. You'll see detailed pro formas, and you'll see uh, opportunities for you to go ahead and subscribe. So we are very close to being fully subscribed and committed. So if you haven't made a decision, I would urge you to please do so quickly. Um, if you want to reach out to me, you can send me an email at jbramonte. So my first initial, last name, it's listed right here at the bottom. jbramonte at triarchrep.com. This is an old email. Triarchrep, same as our website.com. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. If you and again, also, if you would like to schedule a call with me, you can go to our contact page, and in the top bottom left here, you'll see request a call. So look forward to hearing from you. And if we unfortunately miss you on this one, then hopefully we'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye.